Just because they don't want you here doesn't mean you're not supposed to be.
So, what just happened? My people, welcome back. It is I, your very own Caped Informer, the most informed, back to review the second mind-bending episode of Lovecraft Country. If you are new here, we break down and review each episode of this outrageous HBO series and a bunch of other fun TV shows and movies. So please invite yourself to my subscribe button so you don't miss out. And I just know you don't want to miss out. Anyways, guys, where do we even start with this insanity? How about the title? Whitey's on the Moon. So if you left this episode scratching your head, please know you aren't the only one. I thought that episode 1 was a lot, but we were clearly just getting our feet wet. We entered the episode with what couldn't have been more of an inappropriate song for the show. The Jeffersons theme song, We Moving On Up. Pretty much the quintessential old black American anthem. The mood is surprisingly happy-go-lucky despite the horrific run-in with vampire demons last night, at least with Uncle George and Letty's character. It isn't until later we realize they were put under a spell that blocked out the horrors of last night. However, Atticus remembers and goes into a slight meltdown trying to convince them and also himself that he isn't going crazy. This part of the episode was fun, and I think they should have actually leaned into it and had more fun with it. But instead we bounce around 80 some times before we're back at the mansion and more exposition is thrown at us before we can really catch our breath. Mostly coming from the Christina Braithwaite character, who is kind of growing on me, who introduces us to her father Samuel Braithwaite, who appears to be the ringleader of the so-called Sons of Adam. Now, if you weren't sure if the episode was going to start diving deep into some mythological, witchcrafty BS from the scene where we see Samuel get his liver removed by a hooded acolyte, I don't know what would have alerted you. It is at this point they explain what they require Atticus for. Samuel tells us, and I quote, "I've worked a very long time to return to paradise." Apparently Atticus's great ancestor was a former slave of Titus Braithwaite, a distant cousin of Samuel's. As far as the Braithwaites are concerned, with Titus's blood flowing through his veins, Atticus is a worthy heir. Or at the very least, good enough to serve as a sacrifice to further Samuel's plans. From this point on, it's all just straight WTF moments left and right. They don't stop. Shortly after that scene, we watch as Christina is called to birth the fetus of what I can only describe as a demon spawn from a cow. Yeah, that was weird and was provided no explanation for, but wait. There's more. The next one was probably my favorite sequence in the episode. The three characters are matched against manifestations of their subconscious. Atticus is forced into hand-to-hand combat with a female soldier, presumably from the Korean War. George had a peaceful dance with Atticus's mother Dora, which I guess proves they were secret lovers. And Letty also shared an intimate moment with who she thought was Atticus. Things got kind of weird for her after he revealed the snake in his pants. No, literally. Atticus's fight with the female soldier was surprisingly well choreographed, a bit too well choreographed for them just to blow over the scene so quickly after. But evidently it wasn't so important. I don't know, maybe we'll come back to it at some point. But we move on to the team devising a plan to save Atticus's father, Montrose. They do this and execute their escape plan, but not without some serious consequences. While attempting to escape in the Braithwaite silver car, the team is stopped by an invisible wall set by Samuel. Letty is shot by Samuel and so is Uncle George, and he bargains their lives to Atticus in return for him willingly coming back and helping him finish his ritual. Letty is healed once they get back, however, Uncle George is still in critical condition from his gunshot wound. Despite the differences in their physical conditions, Letty appears to be in a much more debilitating state mentally when she awakes to find her wound gone. Uncle George and Montrose have a heart-to-heart that infers that he did in fact have an affair with Atticus's mother, which calls into question his true parentage. But we finally conclude with a scene that truly brings the house down. Also, literally. In the ritual scene, Samuel opens up the portal to Eden through Atticus. But after Atticus sees his pregnant ancestor, he raged out and turned everyone else in the room to dust. It was a really cool visual, but what made this scene legendary was the Whitey on the Moon spoken word poem being played in conjunction with the scene. That little addition had Jordan Peele's name all over it. In Atticus's escape from the mansion, we end the episode on the saddest of notes, discovering the death of Uncle George. As crazy and fantastical as the show is, the death did kind of seem definite to me, which makes it all the more sad because his character really was starting to grow on me. In comparison to episode 1, this episode did come up a bit short. There were a number of gems in this episode, but the exposition and pacing problems were just too abundant to overlook, and I truly hope this isn't a trend that will continue with further episodes. We shouldn't be getting this lost this early in the series, even if they do plan to explain things later in the season. However, in saying that, I am still pretty hooked on this series, so let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments below. We'll of course be back for episode 3 next Sunday, but in the meantime, like the video, subscribe, hit the share button, and I'll be seeing you all, my former army, in the next one. Peace!